In January of 2024, Jennifer Dazey was 46 years old and living with her son in a small house in Dubuque, Iowa, a relatively small city with a population of 59,000 people. She had 3 children, Nick, Kylie, and Tyler. Tyler was the son living with her, and he's 29 years old at the time. A few months prior, Kylie was also living there, but had recently moved out into her own apartment across town. When Jennifer's children were still young, she had struck up a friendship with another mother, Christy, as their daughters were in Girl Scouts together. Initially, the friendship was a slow burn, but as years passed, the 2 women would become best friends and would see each other up to 5 times a week. When they got together, they would do things such as go to drive-in movies, get food, and they always got coffee.
Oh, yes. Coffee was our thing.
Okay.
We loved it. There was like our time where no kids were around, no one. It was just me and her, and that was, whether it was 2 hours or a whole day, it was just her and me.
Jennifer loved to travel, and it was her dream to visit each of the states in America. She had only 10 more to get to. Recently, she had gotten a dog to join her on her adventures. Its name is Echo, and she traveled to 2 states with her companion since he came into her life.
The dog would follow her everywhere, up the stairs, down the stairs to the basement, in the car, to the grocery store, to pick up a prescription. I mean, Echo was with her 100% of the time.
At one point in time, Jennifer had gotten quite ill, and it was discovered that she had brain tumors. In September of 2023, she undergoes surgery to get them removed. Upon recovering, Christy helps her immensely with day-to-day tasks, going to appointments and more. Seeing as Christy would visit Jennifer's house regularly, she had also become quite familiar with Tyler, Jennifer's son who lived there. Tyler is described as a bit of a troubled man. There's social security records indicating that he at a point was receiving disability for mental illness. According to members of the family, he had been struggling for many years with a range of issues, including schizophrenia. Tyler was in and out of prison, mental institutions, and had at times been prescribed what is described as a cocktail of medications to try help him with his mental health. When Christy would visit her friend, she recalls how Tyler would interact with his mother.
Sometimes they would laugh and joke, other times he would name call and she would just smile and act like it didn't hurt her feelings. And then we'd move on to like the next thing, but I did one time ask Tyler, all right, that's enough. My kids are here. Please stop. And he did respect that when my children were around. He would call her a whore, cunt.
And would that be something routine? Like, would he do that often?
Yes, whether he was angry with her or joking around, it was just something he would always say.
The date is January 18th, 2024, 8:30 a.m. Christy's boyfriend Ron is at work, and she had plans with Jennifer to spend the whole morning doing what they loved, hanging out, chatting, and drinking coffee. When she arrives at the house, she notices that Jennifer's car was not in the driveway, and instead, Jenny's son Nick's red truck was in its place. This wasn't something that stood out as odd, seeing as Jennifer and Nick would swap cars on occasion. She approaches the front door to enter the house, and as she does, something strange would catch her eye.
I grabbed my coffee mate, my purse, my phone, and got out of my vehicle and started walking on the sidewalk over to Jenny's home.
So you walked up, you noticed the vehicle, you walked into that front porch area. Tell me what you did then.
There is another screen door, and then there is a main wooden door. I wedged in between those and opened the main door to the home. When I opened the main door to go in, I'd seen right here by the 2 pillars, Tyler standing there naked. And so I hurried up and pulled the main door closed, but I stayed in between the screen door and the main door right here. I rushed, shut the door, stood there, text Jenny, "Hey you," saying if she was in the home to meet me at the door. While I was doing that, I heard a door close, so I figured, oh, Tyler went into his bedroom. I can re-enter the home. So that's what I ended up doing.
Did Tyler say anything while he was there?
No, never. As I went to sit down, I looked to my left, and I seen what looked like hair, fur, something. So I ended up scooching over towards that and lifting the blanket to find out what was underneath it, and it was Echo. I lifted his leg up and I dropped it, and then I uncovered him more and I looked at his eyes. His eyes were looked almost glued shut. And then I covered him back up, and I stood there trying to think of what my next idea is going to be. I was just standing there calling her, and I was waiting for a response, and I got nothing. The house was so quiet, and when I seen her purse, I stopped and questioned myself. She never leaves without her purse. She never goes anywhere without her purse. So that made my gut start turning, and I just stood there longer trying to think, where am I going next?
Did you know during this time where Tyler was at?
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
So I proceeded to walk to her door. Her door was closed. So I gently knocked on it, opened the door, said, "Jenny, come on. You never sleep in like this. Let's go. I'm here. Let's start our day." And no response. And I'm like, "Come on, Jenny, let's go. Wake up." Still nothing. I walked up to the corner of the nightstand and her bed, and I stood there and I looked over her, and then I froze. The blood and the amount of blood that I had seen, I don't know if I was in shock or if my brain playing tricks on me, because the way her jaw was is the same way of one of her seizures she's had in the past. So I called Ron at that point and I said, "I need you. I think Jenny is dead." After I spoke with him, I hung up the phone and I called 911.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
I don't know. I'm on Avoca Street. I need someone right now.
What street are you on?
Avoca.
Avoca?
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on?
I was supposed to meet my best friend for coffee. I think she's dead.
You think your best friend is dead? Are you able to check what the address is? Okay. All right, we're going to get help on the way here.
At this point, the amount of blood that I'd seen, I got terrified while I was on the phone with 911. And I just dropped to the floor, crawled over to the door, and she's got dressers when you first walk in her bedroom right here. And I just held my feet up against the dressers and held the door closed.
Hello?
Yep, I'm here. I'm right here. All right, just take some deep breaths, okay? What's going on?
I don't know. She's full of blood laying in her bed.
She's full of blood?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she breathing at all?
I don't know. I don't want to touch her. She won't answer me. She won't wake up.
Okay, can you see her chest rising and falling at all?
No, I can't look at her.
Okay, how old is she?
46.
46? Okay. Okay. So you don't know if she's breathing?
I'm sitting by her door in her bedroom on the floor.
Okay. And are you by her right now?
She's in her bed and I'm on the floor at her bedroom door.
Okay. It's okay. What's her name? Hello?
It's Jennifer and Daisy.
Jennifer Daisy?
Yes.
Okay.
Please hurry.
Yep, they're coming. It's okay. Okay, I believe. Can you see the officer?
I don't know. Can I get out? I don't know.
Okay. Okay, it's okay. There's an officer. There's an officer pulling up right now. Okay, is he there? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna hang up with you, okay?
I knocked on the door, didn't receive an answer. As I was standing there, I heard somebody crying inside.
Hello?
So I checked the doorknob. Door was unlocked.
Hello?
So I announced myself and went inside. Hearing the sobbing, I went to where I heard the sobbing, which was the bedroom where I observed Christy.
Hello?
She latched on to me right away. She was very scared, and so she latched on to me.
And as I seen the officer coming around this corner, I hightail booked it out of there and ran into the officer. And I asked him, "Don't leave me, don't leave me." He proceeded to walk into the bedroom.
So I went into the bedroom, which was dark. There's no lights on. And I observed Jennifer Dazey deceased on the bed with a laceration to her scalp, and fingers were severed. And we began talking to Christy, and she advised us that Tyler could still be in the house.
We learned that there may have been a different or another subject within the residence. We made several announcements. We didn't hear anyone inside. At that point, we want to make sure that we clear that residence safely. Officer Slight called out 6 times and I called out 5.
Okay, and at any point, did anyone respond to those calls?
No.
We believed that he was still inside. So at that time, I went to the south side of the residence as part of the perimeter. We're just covering points of exit, make sure somebody doesn't run out the back door or jump out a window.
As we're standing out there, one of the officers comes on over the radio and basically says we have one in custody inside the house. So Officer Slight had one person detained in handcuffs. This individual was completely nude. He was on his left side, kind of facing the wall away from me.
I saw Officer Slight down on a knee, and he had secured Mr. Dazey, who was face down on the ground and was naked. Corporal Leck was also in that room.
He was fully nude, as I stated. When he was rolled over, Mr. Dazey did have an erection.
Okay. The objection's overruled. Go ahead. You can finish your answer.
So when he was rolled over, I noted, as did the other officers in the room, that Tyler, his penis was fully erect.
The first thing I noted was his erection. But then once we got him onto his feet, he had a blank stare on his face. He was moving slowly, lethargically, but he was following our commands. I told him that he wasn't being placed under arrest, but he was being detained, and that we were going to be transporting him to the law enforcement center where we would talk to him down there. I asked him if he understood. He didn't respond audibly, but he did nod to me.
He had some complaint about pain in his wrist. Officer Slight did readjust his handcuffs. He had, again, continued complaints about his wrist, but kind of stated that it always kind of hurts him. So Tyler was placed into a Tyvek suit. We just knew based off the totality of the circumstances that we were not going to allow him to remain in the home while we processed the scene. Because he was naked and fully erect, and it was cold out, we didn't want to parade him outside, again, due to the weather and, to protect him from being put in an embarrassing situation. We wanted to get him covered up. At one point he told us that he had to urinate. We asked him if he would be willing to wait for a little bit until we got him somewhere where he could do that, and basically he made the decision to urinate in a suit while we were standing in the living room.
Why did you decide to take him to the hospital?
Based on how he was acting, we were concerned that he may have ingested some kind of substance before police arrival, and we wanted to make sure that his vitals were stable and that he was medically cleared before we took any further steps in the investigation.
There were numerous reasons why we were concerned. He didn't appear to grasp the gravity of the situation. The fact that there were multiple officers inside his house, that he was being detained in handcuffs, that he was being escorted out of his home, didn't really respond the way you would expect someone to respond. Did not ask a lot of questions about what was going on, why we were there, what was going on. Something traumatic happened in the home, had something happened to him, had he witnessed something, was this some sort of PTSD type of response? We had no idea. We're not doctors. We just wanted to get him in front of some medical professionals who kind of better evaluate him.
Both Hoff and I assumed that Mr. Dazey lived at 1605 Avoca, but I had not confirmed that with him. So after my conversation with Hoff, I walked back into the BH room and I asked Mr. Dazey if he resided on Avoca. He just shrugged his shoulders. I then asked him if he normally stayed at his mom's residence, if that was his normal residence. His response was, "Whose mom?" I then asked him, "Is Jennifer Dazey your mother?" And his response to that question was pretentious. 25 minutes after we got to the ER, he advised that he needed to urinate. I knew that we were working on getting a search warrant to collect his urine, so I asked him if he could just hold tight. We had some processing to do. That's when he stated to me, "I'm letting go, the keys are yours." I again asked him, "Hang tight for me, we need to collect." That's when I told him, "We're going to collect your urine." He then said, "I got to pee." Again, I urged him to just hold on for a couple minutes. He then leaned back in the sofa that he was seated on, and I could hear him urinating inside the Tyvek suit.
Did he do that more than once?
Multiple times while we were at the hospital. I was a little disturbed that a grown man wouldn't hold his urine for a couple minutes, and his answer to that was, "Wars are meant to be fought." Mr. Dazey advised that he had to urinate again. At this point in time, he had crawled down on the floor, asked if I could help him up. I helped him up off the floor. I told him, "Hey, you don't have to pee in your suit this time. Staff's going to walk in any minute. We'll have you urinate into a cup." Within seconds, staff walks in, and as they walk through the front door, or walk into the door of the room, I hear him urinating in his suit again. I scrambled to try to unzip his suit and asked one of the nurses to bring over a collection cup. By the time that happens, we got just a very small sample. And I had transported Mr. Dazey from Mercy back down to the law enforcement center. I was at my desk. He had to urinate again, so I asked Skorupski to escort Mr. Dazey to the bathroom, and I had a collection cup with me. We met in there. Again, I had unzipped his Tyvek suit to expose him. At that point in time, he thought that he felt as though he needed to urinate, but he didn't know if he could, and thought it might be a couple seconds. He then stated, "I'm not trying to dick you around." I told him, "Hey, we got time. We'll just sit here. Let me know when you need to go." Within a matter of seconds, he said, "Quantum entanglement, brother," and he started urinating. I was only a step away with the cup. I was able to reach into his stream and got a proper sample. There were multiple times during the interview where he stressed how disciplined he was and how he was very aware of everything around him and what was happening.
Did you ask him about his relationship with his mother?
I did. His response was, "It's fine, except for when she's acting sneaky like a witch." He then went on to talk about how his mother was part of a covenant of witches. I followed that up with how he thought his mom thought of him. And his answer to that question was, "I think she hated me so much that she hated herself." I asked him when he last had a conversation with his mother, and he stated, "Right before you guys came and got me, she was practicing witchcraft."
Did he say where that conversation took place?
Yes, he stated that his mother was in her bed, again, noting that she was practicing witchcraft. And I think that is when he gets into stating something similar to, "I just gave up. I just don't care. I don't need her to validate me." He then followed that comment up with, "Why would I care what a whore thinks? You sit around and drink yourself stupid, fuck like animals, and ruin your children's lives. Why would I care what a person like that thinks?" I asked him if he'd ever called his mother a whore to her face, and he said, "Yeah, I did." I asked how his mom responded to that, and he said, "She's a witch. You know how witches are. Oh, I'm better than you. I will be your fear. I will be your enemy." Then toward the end of the interview, I again asked him what he could specifically recall happening before police got there. And he said that he was having a conversation in his head that he did not want to think about. This conversation was about trauma. He didn't want to think about it, and he would not expand on that when I asked him what that conversation was. It's about an hour and 18 minutes into the interview, I got to the point where I wanted him to explain the significant and severe injuries that she had. And when I asked him how she got these traumatic injuries, his response was witchcraft. I then specified that I was referring to the physical injuries to her body. He again responded, witchcraft. I then asked him, I was going to need a little better understanding of how witchcraft could cause such injuries. At that time, Mr. Dazey ended the interview.
Did you tell him he was being arrested before he was taken up to the jail floor?
I did. He actually asked me if he was getting showered in, referring to going up to the jail floor. It was at that time I told him he was being arrested for the murder of his mother. His response was, "It's hard to argue witchcraft in court, isn't it?"
During all of your interactions with Mr. Dazey, did he at any time ever deny harming his mother or the dog?
Not once.
The first diagnosis is my cause of death. The cause of death in this case was multiple sharp force injuries. There were three main locations that had sharp force injuries: the head, the neck, and the left hand. There were a total of 13 sharp force injuries. There were cutting wounds and chopping wounds to the head. There were injuries to the neck, a total of 2 chopping wounds to the neck. This is the left hand again. So this is a chopping wound that injured 3 fingers, the index, the middle, and the ring fingers. The index finger has a pretty superficial wound by the fingernail. The middle finger was amputated as a result of the chopping wound, and the ring finger was nearly amputated as a result of the chopping wound. There's just some skin left that's connecting the finger to the hand. Injuries here included soft tissue and then bones of the fingers.
The police officer was bringing animal in for examination. Small to medium dog, 10 to 15 pounds, and it was brown, short hair on it.
Can you tell the jury what the purpose of the examination was?
To look for any evidence of injury as to why the dog would be deceased. Dog was covered in red sticky substance. We cleaned the red substance off, clipped some hair away. We ultimately found an injury to the right side of the head, which was a hole through the skin, subcutaneous tissue, through the bone, into the brain tissue was exposed.
An investigation commences, and immediately evidence is collected from the crime scene. Blood is found all over Jennifer's bedroom. There's also traces of blood leading out of her room and into the living area where the body of Echo was found. In the bathroom as well, there's more spots of blood located in various places around the shower. A hatchet is located in the bathroom, and it lines up with the sort of injuries both Jennifer and Echo sustained. This hatchet looks suspiciously clean, but when it was tested, blood residue is found that matches Jennifer's. Tyler's handprint is also found on the handle. An expert who reviews this item would say that the way the handprint was found, in addition with the axe being slightly wet at the point of discovery, and the blood residue being unidentifiable by the naked eye, it was all consistent with this weapon being cleaned and scrubbed. As you heard, Tyler was interviewed, and although he never admitted to killing his mother or Echo, he did say a lot of concerning things regarding witchcraft.
Did he explain to you how she practiced witchcraft?
From her bed, on cell phones with the other persons in the covenant, and that she would practice witchcraft upon him.
Well, and didn't he say that she did that by meditating upon him and putting thoughts in his head and possession and things like that?
Yes, he went into that. We weren't talking, I wasn't questioning him, and he just stated aloud, witchcraft, brother, witchcraft. A lot that is wrong with my life. When people are trying to get in your way, when you are just trying to pursue happiness. After the fact, when I went back and watched the interview to type up my report, I noted that Mr. Dazey made some comments aloud while we were out of the room. He stated, I would gladly spend an eternity in hell if she could just have a chance at heaven. He stated at first, they will never figure out the psychology. You have a choice, conquer me or hell it is. He then paused, stated, I love you, I'm tired, and that was the end of the comments.
His urine sample came back absent of any potent substances, both legal and illegal. No opioids, no prescription meds, no fentanyl, and so forth. What they did find was 3 different strains of THC, and in high amounts. An expert would claim that this is consistent with ingesting THC through various methods: gummies, smoking, and vapes. Tyler was wet when he was apprehended by law enforcement, and he explains to them that right before they had found him, he was actually in the shower, the same room that the hatchet had been located. He confirms that the hatchet belongs to him, and it actually lives in a sheath that is stored in a toolbox in his room. He has no explanation for how the hatchet got to the bathroom, or how the sheath was found in the living room next to Echo's body. One more detail that becomes somewhat important later on is that Tyler would claim he had only an hour's sleep the night before. Officers investigate outside of the house as well, not only looking at the Ring camera footage, but traffic cameras in the neighborhood. There is no activity throughout the cold night that leads investigators to suspect anyone entered the house, and that there were more people there other than the residents, Tyler and Jenny. At 10 p.m., on the home front door Ring camera, they observe Jenny letting her dog out to use the bathroom. Then there's no activity from that instance until 8:30 a.m. when Christy arrived. There's no footprints around the outside of the house in the snow to suggest someone had been sneaking around, and the back door is deadbolt locked from the inside. This lock is not accessible from the outside, and if anyone snuck into the house and back out using this door, they wouldn't have been able to deadbolt lock it from the outside again. Seeing as Nick's red truck was located at the property, police do bring him in for an interview, but he has a rock-solid alibi that is backed up by traffic camera footage. He had swapped his vehicle with Jenny's the night before her death, due to his truck having a check engine light on, and he really needed a car the next day. After he left Jenny's at 8:05 p.m., he is tracked driving all the way to where he lives, and there is a camera on his driveway all night. This shows that the vehicle didn't leave his property until 5:35 a.m., where he heads south and out of town, nowhere near his mother's house. As a side note, Dubuque is known to have a lot of traffic cameras, over 2,500 covering the small city, and these are frequently used by law enforcement as a means to help them fight crime. They use these cameras to track vehicles and people, and it's said to be highly effective, as barely anything can go on in the streets of Dubuque without a camera catching it. The next suspect that is also looked into and ruled out is Tyler's sister, Kylie. It's learned that she potentially owned a spare set of keys to get into the property. When she moved out a few months prior, she never handed them back to her mother. Once more, Kylie is tracked using traffic cameras the day and night before the 18th. She is seen at work, leaving around 10 p.m. and goes straight home. She enters her property and then doesn't leave again until 8 a.m. Here she exits her home, jumps in a cab, and goes straight back to work at the Village Inn where she's a waitress. At 10:52 a.m., she is contacted by a family member letting her know that something happened to her mother, and she can be seen leaving work, getting in a friend's car who picked her up, and heading to her mother's house. That leaves Tyler being the sole person in the property with Jennifer and Echo. With all of this information, Tyler Dazey is arrested and set to stand trial for first-degree murder and animal abuse. Leading up to the trial, there's a bit of back and forth regarding what his defense would be. Initially, his defense team proposes that they would be submitting an insanity plea, diminished capacity. To support this, Tyler would need to undergo a mental health evaluation to see whether he was even competent to stand for trial. At this early stage of pre-trial hearings, tension would arise between Tyler and his counsel. A quote from his attorney: "Some of the comments he's made cause enough of a concern that he may not fully understand the charges or be able to assist in his defense. He's made some statements in the jail, from our understanding, that the attorneys, we are desecrating his mother's name. This causes us concern that he may not fully understand what our goal in this is." Despite these tensions, Dazey agrees to the evaluation on the basis that it would not interfere with his right to a speedy trial. Tyler claims that in a previous 2022 assault case that he was involved in, he had attacked nurses at a medical facility. He had been asked to have an evaluation back then, and the process affected how long he had to wait for a trial. In that case, he was found guilty and received a 30-day jail sentence. Tyler is evaluated for this current case, and it is found that although he understood what was going on in relation to proceedings, he was not mentally competent to assist in his own best interest for the purposes of defense. They say that his lack of medication and refusal to take medication is concerning. The expert who saw him was specifically concerned about Tyler's decision-making regarding his own defense. Tyler had expressed numerous times leading up to this a great disinterest in going down the path of an insanity defense. He would even go as far to write a handwritten letter requesting new counsel. Following his evaluation, Tyler had refused to meet with his attorneys, and he only learned of the result that he was not mentally competent to stand for trial in a court proceeding when the findings were presented to a judge.
And after hearing that he's not considered competent, he started laughing and smiling before responding with, quote, "That's BS." But his smile quickly faded once the judge ordered him to be transported to a psychiatric hospital and prison in Coralville.
I'd like to say this is not one flew over the cuckoo's nest. And I will not be going to a mental institution, and I will not be taking drugs. I am who I am, and I am who I choose to be, not what you say I am. Do you understand, sirs and ma'ams? Okay.
Where he shouted at the judge and his lawyers, stating his constitutional rights were being violated. Previously, Dazey's sister told TV9 that he has been diagnosed with a number of mental illnesses, including schizophrenia.
He says during this hearing, quote, "I will gladly go to prison before I get drugged out of my fucking consciousness. Do you understand?" End quote. The judge rules that he is able to stand for trial, and in July 2024 it would begin. What's notable is that when the date came around, the defense of insanity had completely been dropped. Now his counsel would argue that he didn't do it. From what I can tell, this was at the request of Tyler himself. As the trial begins, Tyler is absent from the proceedings, and this is discussed during one of the days.
Can you report, did you have a conversation with your client this morning at the jail?
We did.
Okay. And has he indicated his preference about whether he wants to be here today or not be here?
He has indicated that he does not want to be here today, that it is the Sabbath and it is a religious day for him.
Okay. All right. Very good.
In addition to this, Tyler also writes this letter outlining his reasons for not attending. To whom it may concern, I, Tyler James Dazey, a descendant of the Roths, a Freemason, and a Hebrew Nazarite, am of God, before as well as after, to be subject to slavery through usury of the law, be it constitution nor amendment, I will not participate. I seek honor to become of worth. I seek God. My mother would be ashamed otherwise, as is of my ancestors, to seek God in death, to become that of life. Sincerely, Tyler Dazey. You've heard most of the state's argument throughout the course of this video, so to highlight a bit of what the defense had to say, it is suggested that the police investigation was inadequate. Although both Nick and Kylie were looked into via traffic cameras, their homes were never searched. Furthermore, in relation to Kylie, although not proven, it is not disputed that she might have held onto keys to enter the house, and had access to the Ring camera systems via an app. This means that she could have erased footage, or even disabled a camera that was looking at the back door. They say it's possible that she could have snuck in, killed her mother and Echo, and then snuck back out without anyone knowing. I'll give you a quick look at how the state feels about this argument.
In order for her to participate in this, to be part of this, she would have had to leave her house at the other end of town, somewhere during the course of the night, through the back door, get out of a nice warm bed, and get out into that cold air, and then sneak around through the alleys and through yards, and then get a hold of an Uber or a cab, because she didn't have a driver's license and she didn't have a car. Okay, she'd have to go through all that, get over to Avoca Street. She couldn't get dropped off right out front, so she'd have to be dropped off blocks away perhaps, and then work her way over there. There were no tracks in the backyard, human tracks. She would have had to go up the driveway where she could have been seen, and then she would have had to enter the back door with a key that she may or may not have had, and then she would have had to go in, get a hold of her mom's phone or some phone, disable the camera, erase all the footage that was on that camera, and then go in there and sneak in to Tyler's bedroom, get the axe, the hatchet, out of his toolbox without waking him. And remember, Tyler said that he only slept about an hour the night before, an hour. It was a nice try, let's throw this whole story together, but it doesn't fit. What we got here is a whole lot of evidence that got presented, a lot of evidence. It all goes right to Tyler Dazey, all of it.
I'll get back to some more information regarding Kylie in just a minute, but one other thing that's brought up are jail phone calls made by Tyler. In one of these calls, he states that his ex-girlfriend, Tessa, she was actually at the residence throughout the night with him when this happened. Investigators take this seriously, and they look into those claims.
In these phone calls, he had identified his ex-girlfriend, Tessa, as having been at the front door of the house on the day of the murder and of being present inside the home while he was being detained by officers.
Was Tessa ever in the residence?
No.
When law enforcement was there?
No.
Okay. Did anyone see her outside the residence?
No. I sat down and I did an interview with her. She had stated that it had been several years, 4 or 5 years since she last spoke with Tyler, denied having any knowledge that anyone was living, or that Tyler and his mother were living at 1605 Avoca Street, and denied any knowledge of any involvement.
Going back to Kylie now, when she found out her mother had been murdered, she left work and went straight to the house. Police body cam footage shows her arriving, and there's also camera from an interview with her at the police station. The defense imply that her demeanor was a bit off. Not what one would expect from a daughter who's just found out their mother had been killed. Here's a few examples of what was presented.
Is no one to go inside?
And at this point, she has been informed, correct, of her mother's death?
Yes. Sorry for bouncing your own car.
It's all good. You're just doing your job.
I'm Chad. What's your name?
Hey, nice to meet you.
We'll go in here again. I'll just throw your backpack. Back here. Try and get it back to you.
Yeah. Do you want my pepper spray too?
I'll throw it back here.
I know I'm not going to do anything with it, but
I appreciate that.
I know how it is when I'm
Yeah. Nothing else on you, Tyler. Perfect.
catching my phone. Was there cops sent to my house because this?
307, I'll grab the court. Yes.
Okay. I was just double checking. Because I was fighting a domestic case with my mom because she said I slapped her foot.
Okay. She had multiple different kind of emotions in demeanor during my interview with her, but generally, for the most part, I would describe her as fairly calm. I mean,
okay.
Yes, I'm nice, if you do have it.
I'll do a bottle of water. How
Okay.
about that? Yep. And then just give me a minute. I'll be back in. Okay. All right. Thanks, Kylie. Again, my name's Chandler. I'm a.
Were you there when I called about a guy coming to my house down across Comiskey?
How long ago?
Not that long ago.
I don't think so.
There was a guy at my house that I used to work for, or not work for, one of my customers actually came to my house confessing they were manic, and the guy that slipped my tire before that was the one who dropped off.
Not good.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
While I'm here, I'm so sorry, I'm all over the word. While I'm here, would I be able to ask about police report after this is done?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. I'm very sorry for your mother's passing.
Yeah.
You may recover.
With my tire being split, and my all-wheel drive is messed up.
Oh.
Yeah, I love it. Just so much.
Okay.
That's why I'm so calm. Shit always happens.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all good. Being a waitress is kind of hard.
Sure.
And me personally, I don't really deal with that. Hence why I'm so calm, kind of.
Yeah.
But I was like, what's the point of me leaving? Like, it sounds kind of heartless, but it's not like I can do much now.
Sure. Have you had like previous experiences with that sort of? Why you kind of say that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a family member previously or friend?
It was my mom's ex-boyfriend and best friend. His name was Mike. He worked at them though.
Okay. How long ago was that?
About, I would say, 70 months.
Also recently.
With the trial wrapping up, the final argument from the defense is that no bloody clothes were found in the residence belonging to Tyler. But again, it is argued by the state that he was in the nude when they found him, so potentially he committed this act whilst completely naked and then showered all the blood off. The decision goes to the jury, and after some short deliberation, they find Tyler guilty on all charges. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. It's at this point of the video I've finished presenting the trial and now speak from my own thoughts and opinions regarding the case. Before diving into what I think about Tyler, I want to take a quick look at Kylie and what she says about the whole situation. I've noticed since the incident, she's posted quite a bit on TikTok regarding how this has affected her, and she addresses some backlash that's come her way towards how she was being portrayed during the trial.
So this video is a very needed video that I did not think I'd have to post. In all reality, I'm disappointed. So if you haven't kept up with what's been going on, my mom was murdered by my brother. He was found guilty for first degree and also animal abuse. Since this trial, I have had so much backlash on people trying to come on my page saying I murdered my mom. You know someone is grieving and you still feel like good about yourself at the end of the day to comment something like that? Like, I don't understand it, and it is so disrespectful, and I don't know who deserves this. Like, seriously. For my brother's defense was pinning the murder on me. Seriously, I don't know how the judge allowed this because it should be illegal. Trust me, I do know that they had absolutely no case with this because clearly, and they had to be pretty creative, but does not make this okay. From before this trial, I was trying to get mental health awareness out there because my brother suffered with a lot of mental illnesses.
Kylie would speak a lot on her TikTok page about her brother's mental illness and the numerous years of battle he faced regarding his mental health. What I find interesting about this case is that, from my layman opinion, Tyler absolutely suffers from something like schizophrenia. I've worked on a number of cases now where we have confirmed diagnosis of this illness, and in those examples, all of the perpetrators manifest similar behavior. If you recall, back when I looked into the Travis Reinking case, and a few others, but Reinking stands out the most, all of these individuals have a similar pattern in common. That being, they don't for a second believe that they are suffering from any major mental disorder. Instead, they reject meds and fully believe what they perceive to be reality is what is actually happening to them. When putting the behavior of these people against others who have claimed the same insanity defense, Christopher Gribble comes to mind. People like Christopher, their eyes don't reflect manic intensity, and they hold this position of being insane from a standing point of relative lucidity. The way they explain their illness seems to be so calculated and calm. It seems like they know that this is nothing more than a defense, and are now trying to convince others that they're not aware of something that they are fully aware of. The state of mental chaos and turmoil, it just doesn't seem to be present. I do understand that a person can experience psychotic episodes where they lose control of what otherwise could be a very together person, but in instances, in my opinion, where the defendant genuinely suffers from mental illness, they don't appear to have that ability to reflect on their delusions and explain it away as something that manifests in their mind alone that torments them. Looking at Reinking, Tyler Dazey, and another case I'm working on actually, a man by the name of Eddie Routh, maybe even Aaron Ybarra as well now that I think about it. These people's minds are pure chaos. They fixate on abstract ideas, such as aliens communicating with them, the government being out to get them, or their mother being a part of a cult of witches. These claims are outlandish, but to them, they're real. I fully believe this man was suffering from a mental illness that went untreated for far too long, and unfortunately ended in violence. Whose fault is that then? Should diminished capacity be something that is forced onto a defendant? Is the state at fault for not providing better care? Is the family at fault for not seeking treatment in a more aggressive manner? Or is it the individual at fault? Probably it's yes to all of those questions, hey? Although I don't have any sympathy for Tyler spending his life behind bars, I do wonder what the trial would have looked like should have the insanity defense be used here. Out of the many cases I've seen where a defendant claims insanity, I think this one would have been one of the most appropriate if it came up. Anyway, turning my attention to the victims, I know there's two here, Jenny and Echo, but there's one more that I'd like to look at first. Christy, Jenny's best friend. This woman was traumatized. I believe one can hear it in her voice on the 911 call, in her appearance on the stand where she holds onto a stress ball for support, and even at times when she needed to stop to take breaks.
It had a keypad code. I need to stop.
Can we take a break?
Yeah. We'll take a restroom break, everyone, about 10 minutes. Remember the admonition, keep an open mind about everything.
This woman now must live with a scene that plays out in her mind over and over, going to her friend's house for a simple hangout and ending up laying in her room beside a dead body, too terrified to look at it, and grasping onto an officer, begging him not to leave her. I believe her journey with grief will be coloured with PTSD and horrible recollections of that day for the rest of her life. It's easy to forget that in many of these cases, it's not only the victims who didn't survive, who are the only ones that were horribly injured. Focusing on Jennifer now, here's a letter that was written and read to the court from her best friend. She was a beautiful person who overcame a lot in her life. Echo meant a lot to Jenny, as both a friend and a companion, and I hope they can both rest in peace. She was the type of friend you find once in a lifetime. What I seen that day will never go away. The rest of my life I will live in fear and constantly have to look over my shoulder. I hope you never see the light of day. Damn it, Tyler. I thought of you as one of my own children. Jennifer, until we meet again, I love you.
Tyler, it's so sad how loved you were. And to see how you are now. This isn't what I used to remember at all. And I know it hurts you. And if it doesn't, that's so sad. I'm sorry that you're that far gone. Seriously. How does it feel to lose your whole family due to one thing that you did? Does that feel okay to you? You feel okay still? Because that's not okay. I lost over half of my family. I have one person left. You're messed up. And it's sad that you didn't get the help. It's sad that you still think you're okay, but you're not. You can think you have God, but that's not a real God at all. I don't know what you have going on.
10 Commandments.
Okay. Okay. Look at you. This is sad.
You and Christy and Katie, conspiracy to commit murder.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Dazey, let her speak. Let her finish.
I hope you enjoy life in prison.
I can live forever. I have God. Where is your God?
That's
Jesus?
a great God.
Let's see Jesus save you.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're
Ma'am,
getting
finish
worked
what you
up.
want to say.
I enjoy that. At least you have some type of feeling.
Read the Bible.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Tyler, I'm going to direct this at you. You didn't think you were loved, and you didn't think you were wanted. You were wrong. Your mother wanted you, and she loved you very, very much. She loved all of her children. Did she make mistakes as a mom? You bet. We all do. But I'm going to ask you to go to jail or prison with this. I forgive you every day of my life. I love you, but I'm mad. I am praying, and I have thousands of others praying for you. You have really shown no remorse about what you did.
First, I'd like to say, Tyler, I love you. We all love you. There's so much love that comes your way. It's hard to fathom the hatred that caused you to commit such a heinous act. I hate that you broke 2 pieces of my heart that day. I hate that my sister, your mom, is gone. I hate that our whole family has to go through this horrible experience. I hate that you forget the love that you surrounded you your whole life. I hate that you must go away the rest of your life. I hate that my nephew is dead because you're not my nephew. The man I see in front of me is the one, not the one I helped raise and grew up with. You are not psychotic nor schizophrenic. You are a sociopathic narcissist who chose to be evil. Your PTSD affected the decisions you made in your life, and choosing to believe in chaos caused hatred in your soul. You call everyone else evil, witch-like, and sinners, yet no matter what God you believe in, all of them condemn murderers. I took a hard look at the past and realized that you've never taken ownership for any of your wrongdoings. Everything is always someone else's fault, never your own. You need to learn to take responsibility for what you did to your mom. I will always love you and remember the person I once knew, but I don't know you anymore. I hope that you will get the help you need, whether it be in a hospital or prison, but you are better out of society. Everyone will be safer without you.
Written on Jennifer's obituary is this: On January 18th, we said goodbye to our beautiful Jenny and her loyal companion, Echo. If you knew Jenny, you knew that she was a devoted mum, daughter, sister, aunt and friend, shining a light in every room she entered. Her infectious laughter, passion for exploring the world, and her lack of an inside voice were her trademarks. Due to her health, she discussed with her family that we cremate her in the event of her death, and that her ashes be scattered in the ocean. The family's goal is to get her to the states she never visited before then. Jenny enjoyed life and pulled everyone into her light. She was a unique, carefree spirit, a loving person who did not care what people thought of her. Jenny was working on healing herself and was beginning to learn to garden. She would spend her days traveling, meeting new people, and being there for those she loved. Her smile and laugh was contagious. Her hugs were legendary. Her greatest accomplishment was becoming a mother of 3. She loved her kids more than anything, and always rooted for them in their endeavors. To her, the family was not necessarily those who shared blood with her, but those who loved and supported her. She loved family so much that it never mattered who it was. A stranger became family to her, and she will have forever imprinted herself onto many hearts. You could find her any given day taking photos with her gnome, Willie, singing karaoke at random farmers markets, and seeing the country. Her kindness was palpable, and she went above and beyond to be present for those who needed her. She was a gifted photographer. She graduated from the School of Hard Knocks and survived brain tumors. The world is a little less bright without her. She lived and she loved. And a short note from Jennifer's son Nick. To Jenny, you are a great mum. Take comfort knowing your presence and legacy is that of joy. We will miss your daily affirmations. Echoing love. Rest in peace.